Hello, Nature's Lab world. I just wanted to hop in on video to kind of share a couple of updates with you. I know that many of you have been more directly affected by COVID in this new and more recent increase in numbers. And I've been receiving lots of phone calls and kind of trying to best understand the protocols that Sacramento County has laid out for us here at the preschool. And so I just kind of wanted to share with you so that everyone is informed. You all have the decision tree with you, but I am adding it to the email. If you have this video, it's because you received a link via an email. And so we'll talk in this about a couple of things. One, we'll talk about COVID-19 and the protocol. We will talk about 3 different labels that directly affect how COVID affects you and your availability to attend childcare settings. 3, we're going to address the fact that there's a poll that will be going out for all of you to decide if we make a change for the second week of spring break, which was kind of like a carryover conversation from our annual mandatory meeting that we had last week. And then we will also address some of the things that we're doing here at Nature's Lab to keep all of the children safe and as healthy as possible as we can do in a childcare setting. So, so let me start with the poll. So during our meeting last week, we went over all of the goals that we have for 2022 at Nature's Lab. And we also spoke about our calendar updates and our calendar, how some of the events were unable to do because of COVID-19, how there were some changes done to the calendar to address the increased need to be competitive in a workplace setting and as an employer to maintain the amazing quality of our teachers and employees. And I almost spoke in Spanish, sorry. And then because of that, there was a conversation about how some of the changes were affecting some of the enrolled families. So after the meeting, I had conversations with all of the families with the exception of 3 families. And all of you shared that either you had seen the calendar and had either entered it already and figure out what to do and notice the changes, or that you had seen it but hadn't really paid close attention to the calendar. So in the future, not only will I be posting the calendar to our website in August, like we do every year since we opened Nat Lab 3 years ago, and posting it in the entryway, like we also did last year and this year for all of the families, but also I'll make sure that there's an email that goes out so that you're all aware that it's there. But with that conversation, there was a suggestion that spring break being 2 weeks long was challenging for many of you. So we are proposing to change, or proposing based on the proposals that you had provided to us, is that we are proposing changing the second week to another time of the year. So please find in the link for that poll. We don't want to make a change because we know that some of you had made some changes in your schedule to make sure that you were able to accommodate the calendar that's been out since August. So after I received all of your answers, we will make a final decision as to whether or not we'll keep the calendar as is for spring break or change it to the proposed separate dates. So that's one. The second one is Sacramento County decision tree. So the numbers are going up with COVID, and we are keeping the children as safe as we possibly can in a group care setting. So here at NatLab, this is what we're doing. We made a change as of yesterday. All of you received the information for stable groupings for the children. So typically at NatLab, the children are able to rotate between groups, between teachers, and do what they want to do so that they can expand their knowledge and their learning and curiosity based on what they're interested in. So we will continue to do so, but in a little bit different setting, because now the children will have to stay with the assigned teacher and their assigned group of children, at least for the next 2 weeks. This is not a permanent change. This is a change that is coming because of the numbers in COVID. So we will reassess again based on what we see from COVID numbers in hopefully 2 weeks. And depending on that, we will go back to our more, relaxed way of grouping, or we will stay with the stable group is a little longer. So all of you have the names of the children in those stable groupings. Also, as you know, we built a new fence and we created some new areas to make the space easier to have those divisions, as well as creating some new fun activities for the children to get them engaged, because we know that it's going to be, challenging for some of them who will want to go play with some of their friends. And we have been telling them, that at this time, we are keeping them safe by staying in smaller groups. In the event that someone is a little sick, that they will not make their other friends sick. So what I want to ask from you is, if you hear the children having some challenge with understanding, or they're worried or anxious, please let us know. We know that this is a situation that is very anxiety producing for everyone involved. We are trying our best, but we can only control so much. And I think that's what makes COVID so challenging. All of us, adults and children, are realizing that there is only so much control that we have over situations. And I think, emotions are high for some of us. So we want to do what is as much as we can to address those anxiety producing situations, have conversations. Then what we do here at Nature's Lab, always with any challenging conversation that we need to have with the children, when a family member has passed, when one of our pets has passed, whenever a parent is out of town for an extended period of time, all those different things that are really difficult to address. And now COVID, it started with why do we need to wear a mask? And then, now why are we not with our friends as flexible as we used to be in the past? So what we first do is that we ask questions. We don't just assume that the children are having the same understanding that we have, or that they are looking for information. It is possible that they're looking for some reassurance, just from some understanding. So we're always just really opening our ears and listening and asking, tell me more. What do you think? So that we can really come from the same perspective that they are. And then based on their answer, we have different conversations with them. But one thing that is always helpful for children and adults is to provide some opportunities for them to control certain things and to have conversations specific to COVID. What we do here is that we point out to the things that we can do to keep each other safe. So as children are talking about COVID, we say, but something that we can do is wash our hands. And that keeps us healthier and safe. Something else that we can do is wear our masks. And you guys are doing really well wearing your mask and getting better every day at wearing your masks. We know that none of our children wear our masks reliably 100%, and that some masks are not as well fitted as we would love to see for some of our children. But everyone is getting so much better, and we know that you're continuously testing new models so that you find something that works best for your child's face. We also talk about social distancing, and even more so yesterday and today. Social distancing helps us so that if someone gets sick, we don't get sick, or we don't get as sick. And then we also talk about not touching our faces, not putting our hands in our mouth or our eyes or our nose in an effort to keep the viruses and the germs out of our system. So I think by sharing those things that we can control, it kind of helps ease that anxiety and how well the children are doing at doing those things. So it's not perfect. Of course, the children will have other questions that we can't, that we don't know about. So please, if your children are talking with you at home, if you notice them having any outbursts of emotions or anything like that, please let us know. And also be very mindful about the conversations that you are having. It's been 2 years of these, so we know that it's really difficult. The news are consistently talking about these, so be very aware that the children are always listening. So if you have the TV on, if you're driving with the radio on, with the news on, they are always listening. So make sure that you either have those conversations to explain to them, and preferably turn those off when the children are around, because there is just too much information coming their way, even more so now because the numbers are so high. Let's see, what else? So stable groupings, building new areas, wearing our masks. Just a reminder, everyone at NatLab is required to wear a mask. We of course help our younger ones to kind of make it more fun and remind them to cover their nose. But as a parent, part of Nature's Lab, you are mandated to bring at least 3 masks daily for the children. And we are helping the children learn every day to get better at wearing their masks. Of course, if they need a break, they can have a break. But even more important this week and next week, and hopefully, become a little bit more lenient after that. But we need to be very, very safe because we know that the numbers are higher, and we know that Omicron is so much more contagious than other variants in the past. So bring mask with the children, for the children, and wear a mask when you enter the building for the adults and for the children. So it took me an extra day to connect with you guys, because I was trying to best understand the COVID-19 decision tree from Sacramento County Health Department. So I spoke with the department yesterday. There was some inconsistency. So then today we had a meeting and I asked a few more clarifying questions, because there were some questions that came directly from some of our families. So I feel like I have a better grasp of how things affect now each of the families. So I'm going to go ahead and share the decision tree, but there's 3 labels that are important for us to know. And is 1, how you are affected if you or someone in your family tests positive. 2 is how you are affected if you or someone in your family is a direct contact to a positive person. And then the 3rd one is exposed to a direct contact, and how that affects you directly as to whether you can attend childcare or not. So I am going to share the decision tree, and just a caveat, just for you to know, this tree applies now. But what I was told is that Sacramento County is working on making some updates to this decision tree specific to preschools and childcare settings. So even though it applies today, it will be changing in the next day or a couple of days. They didn't have a specific time, but they were expecting it to be this week or next week. Where did it go? Here it is. Okay. So I hope you guys can see that. This is the decision tree that you have and that is posted on our doors. So if there's any symptoms, it trickles down to, following all of this. And so if you are positive, you will be going into isolation for 10 days. And if you don't have any more symptoms and you are, improving, you're feeling much better, by day 11, you should be able to return to care. Just know when you are affected by these, we will have a direct conversation. Each of you and me will have a conversation, and we will talk with the Sacramento County. And there may be some slight variations for each of you, but this is in general what should happen. So if you are vaccinated, it's a little bit different as if you are unvaccinated. So keep in mind that all of our children are unvaccinated. So any things that don't apply, there are some things that don't apply to our children because they are unvaccinated. Okay, so when you go down here after 10 days of quarantine, it says something about quarantine can end after day 7 if you have been tested on day 5 or later, and there is no longer symptoms. This is only true for people who are able to wear a mask reliably. And this is why it took me longer, because I was trying to clarify with the Department of Health how they did this with preschools. And what they're telling us is that this last bubble does not apply to us because our children don't wear the mask perfectly. Some children don't have masks that are well fitted to their face anyway. And they remove their masks to eat. They remove their masks to go into nap. And they have to be supervised. So it's not like we could just leave them to eat on their own in a separate room. So that would become an exposure to children or other adults. So, and then the other category is exposed to a direct contact. That is, there's a positive person, then there is someone who was in close contact to that positive, and then there is a third person who maybe lives in their home with this person who was exposed to the direct contact. This third person who was exposed to a direct contact does not need to go in isolation. So let's say you are a family who, there is someone in your workplace who's positive. You, mom or dad, have been exposed to that person. If you are not positive and you do not have any symptoms, your children are okay to continue to attend care. However, that changes if you present any symptoms or the child presents any symptoms. Then you become, a person who has been exposed and you're waiting for your test. So you have to isolate in waiting for your test, or you are now positive and then you become, just start kind of the whole pattern all over again for those 10 days. So again, that is what we know now. And what makes it difficult is that there is no same answer for everyone. So no, call me, let me know what the details are. I will be asking you, when were you exposed? I will be asking you if you have any symptoms. I would be asking you the level of isolation. Are the children continuing to be exposed to you? Yes or no, and depending on those answers, when you are able to return to care, or when your child will be able to return to care, will vary. Also, at day 11, it may be true that for some children, they will have to stay out longer or not, depending on if they are symptomatic or not. The other thing is we continue to require a PCR test whenever there are symptoms. However, if your child has been positive of COVID for the following 30 days, we would not be requiring a PCR test. We will be then moving to an antigen test, because if you have tested positive, you would test positive on the PCR test for 90 days. But with the antigen test, what we are being told is that you would only test positive if you are contagious at the time. Of course, they're not 100% reliable, but that is the best that science has available for us at this time. So let me see. Sorry, I have my list right here. So I have shared with you that information. And one thing I think I missed is that when we were talking about those conversations with the children and how challenging they are. So I am adding 2 links to this email. One is a link directly from the Conscious Discipline team talking about some strategies on how to talk with children about COVID-19 in a specific. Talks about some of the visuals of those kind of like things that they can do to decrease the risk. And then there is also another link that I found on YouTube, which is just from a newscast in New York, but I thought it was a nice, kind of easy to follow questions that were being asked of a psychologist. So please go on our on the email that you have. Watch those links if you think it's helpful for you. Reach out to us. Let us know if the children are sharing anything with you that we should know about so that we can address it. And then if you are exposed, please reach out to us, or anyone test positive, reach out to me so that we can have a direct conversation about what those dates affect and how they affect you and what that would mean in terms of attending NAT lab. Look into getting well-fitted masks for your children. As we see that masks continue to be required, they have become required again outside of nature's lab as well. So it seems like this will be, a continuous thing. So I think finding the best match will be ideal. And then just make sure that you reach out to me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know it's been some crazy times, and I can completely understand frustrations from all of us involved, but hopefully as we continue to be responsible, to communicate, and to support our children, we can ride this new wave out, and we will continue to just watch the kids laugh and enjoy the fun environment that they have here. And hopefully soon we'll be able to have some of our get-togethers again. In the meantime, we continue with the same, no hikes for now, at least not planned by Nature's Lab. You guys are welcome to use the roster to reach out to each other. If you are interested in observing the children, like I said in the last meeting, you can come and observe from outside, from our balcony, from our conference room, where the way our school is laid out, you're able to see all of our areas, but just not be in where the children are, especially even more so now with these crazy numbers. And then as soon as numbers get better, we hope to jump back into that calendar and be able to connect again. And so, yeah, I think that's it. Talk to you guys soon. Remember, I'm always just a phone call away, or run up the stairs and talk with me here in my office. So thank you. Talk to you guys very soon. Goodbye.